Do not go anywhere. We have got the top ranked FPL content creator in the house revealing his team for game week 22 and having a look at how his season's gone so far and how he got to the dizzy heights of a triple digit rank. Welcome to the channel, Kieran, aka FPL Discomfort. How are you, mate?
I'm doing good. Thanks. Good to be back on talking with you. As managed to somehow still keep the rank somewhat respectable.
Yeah. When did we last check in? We did this about, 6 weeks ago, and you were the top ranked content creator. And at the time, I looked this morning, you're around 35, 40K. It was obviously early in the season. But now you're firmly inside the top 10K, and you went into game week 21 at 906 rank, I think that is on screen. You've drifted, didn't have the best game week 21, but you're still the top ranked content creator, 2,500. Not a bad start, mate.
No, not a bad start. The late wildcard seemed to pay off initially in game week 19. Although, as we always do, right, whenever you wildcard, you've got drafts with all kinds of players in it. And the amount of drafts I look back on that's still saved on my phone that have Bruno Guimaraes rather than Anthony Gordon, who I know you and I spoke about Gordon, and he was one of the ones you weren't convinced on. So you look back on those
Gordon and Van der Ven were the two I said to you I didn't like. But actually, Van der Ven's done all right. He got you a clean sheet straight away, didn't he? But yeah, you wildcarded 19. You'd saved that chip all season.
Yeah, it wasn't really a case of saving it. It was more a case that I'd picked some of the right players towards the start of the season or moved towards the right players. Yeah. So I was in that position where the defense was pretty set, and it was a case of you were just using a transfer to bring in an attacker with a good few fixtures. And that's where the ranks just started to climb. And at that point, you're going, well, looking at everyone else's team and where they've wildcarded to like 9 or 10 of my players. So let's not do it now. And then looking at sort of game week 19, seeing the change of the fixtures and jumping into some people and, jumping off of Thiago and into Ekatike, the joys of those kind of moves. But yeah, other than that, it gave me a bit of a boost initially and got me into that top 1,000.
Love that, mate. I mean, you'll always have a triple digit rank now. Like in game week 20, you're at a triple digit rank, which is super impressive. Whether you finish the season 906 or 10,006, having a triple digit rank in your FPL career is something I've never had. And to have it again week 20, you might get a few that have it like early on in the season and then drift. To have it halfway through a season is awesome. You've been disappointed though, because as always, in FPL, we always want everything to go our way and we're disappointed when it doesn't. And to go from 900 ranked to 2,500, it wasn't the best game week 21. Wasn't the worst either though. And it was a low scoring-ish game week. But yeah, you've drifted. Are you still feel like you're in a good position though, because your squad looks relatively fresh. You've got Liverpool players ready now for Burnley in Ekatike and Viet, who you benched against Arsenal. You went to that game on Thursday night. You got a couple of free transfers though, right? So when you look at this team, just talk through some of the key players and decisions.
Yeah, so on the wild card, I went with double Everton defence just because Tarkowski was quite consistent. It was between him and Kieran, and then of course we got the rumours that Kieran might not be fit, so it wasn't worth the risk there.
Yeah,
there's going to be games like this where you're looking at Aston Villa away coming up, going, not great having both of them there, but similarly they do have good fixtures overall. Leeds after that, Brighton, etc., where we just know what Everton seem to do in the second half of the season. So I still feel comfortable having the two of them there, and I do think Tarkowski's a player where you play him in his bad games as well as his good games, because he probably has a 4-point floor. Even last game week, I think at halftime he had no DEFCON, and then he still managed to get 15 in the second half, which is just ridiculous. Other people looking at this, I'm fine with the double Newcastle for this fixture. It's the last time that I'll probably have them both in there. And like you said, the Liverpool boys are looking good. Shirky maybe question marks over it, but I feel okay with where it is. There's 3 transfers that I have, but it's more looking towards sort of game week 24, 25, when we know that Chelsea fixtures turn and a few other ones do. And do I want to wait for something there? Or is there one of those players I could bring in now that has a decent fixture this week or next week? So looking at some of those, a Munoz, who maybe after this cup run might be coming back into it.
Mate, this is Munoz's run from only a section of the season, game week 7 to 14. but just shows what he can do. Like a 10, like 3 double-digit hauls in there. I sold him this week, right? Game week 7 wild card, I got rid of him, and then look at the run he went on. He is just one of those defenders, isn't he? I'd say he's the only defender in the league that offers the open play attacking stuff to that level. Gabriel offers it from set pieces, but open play, Munoz is a bit of a standalone, isn't he?
He is. And when I look at the wild card, I kind of went against some of my rules when it comes to defenders, because we've seen that your wing backs typically haven't been scoring well unless they are Munoz or on occasions Timber.
Yeah.
So looking at going on that punt of Dorgu, who was, as we've seen, playing out of position, but also Lewis Hall. Yeah, I think Munoz is probably the only one I want long term that is not a centre back when I'm going to have my defenders.
Yeah, I like that. And let's keep this chat on defenders and then move to midfielders. So Lewis Hall, good pickup on wildcard, got the assist. It feels like he's going to get more attacking returns than, say, Livramento on the right now. Livramento's fit, but Hall has always been good for output. And Newcastle, bit disappointing for clean sheets, though. Like conceding 3 to Leeds at home hasn't been great. But you see Hall as someone you'll probably hold slightly long term because the attacking stuff, even if the defensive stuff and the fixtures aren't great. Because a lot that made wholesale changes when you wildcarded, whether with big 5-3 transfers or whatever, they went to Newcastle defence.
I'm not sure I like any of the fixtures after Wolves.
Yeah, I know. I've just done a wildcard draft and I had no Newcastle defence.
I don't think I would. I think he's one of the ones where if I'm looking at game week 24, 25, he's making way for someone at that point. Because, if I make moves now or if I continue to roll, there's 6 moves to make by game week 25 there. So he's definitely someone that I don't see sticking around probably past Wolves.
Yeah, so double Everton, Gabriel, safe for the foreseeable. Hall could be on the chopping block. I guess Dorgu, let's see what happens with the new manager. I guess when Mbermo and Ahmad are back, if he's not playing fullback, he's not going to be in the team. And then Van der Ven, what's your read on Van der Ven? Is he someone you'll probably sell soon? I mean, the Spurs fixtures aren't great. And Frank, well, obviously we know what the situation there, or we don't know the situation there, but they often can see goals.
Yeah, he was always a 2 game week 24 player. So he was one where I just thought he had 3-4 good fixtures over the period I was going to have him that I'd be able to play him in. West Ham and Burnley both tick that, where I think decent-ish chance of a clean sheet, okay chance of DEFCON. And again, he is that target man from set pieces. We even saw him in the last game week pop up on the edge of the box and stumble over. So we know he's that kind of player. So he's good for another couple of weeks. But then there's so many other teams with better fixtures at that point that'll move off of him.
Yeah, and then coming in soon, we mentioned Munoz, possibly someone you move to. But Chelsea defence. What's your read on... Well, let's just talk Chelsea, period, right? And move on then to midfielders. But Chelsea's fixtures on the ticker from 22. We're only looking at the next 6. But there's 4 home games there. I think it's 4 home games. Was it 3 homes? I think it's... Is that Forest away or home? No, it's Brentford at home, West Ham home, Leeds home, Burnley home, wedged between Wolves away and Palace away. That run of 6 games is amazing. Now, many are looking at a wild card either now, and they're probably going double or triple Chelsea. Those that are looking at a wild card in 24, which is also going to be popular, you can ditch Liverpool assets, but you can pick up still Chelsea. Entry point would be West Ham at home and 3 of the next 4 at home. Regardless, if you're on wild card 22, 24, or later down the line, people are going to be bringing in Chelsea players on free transfers or on wildcard. Any particular defender catch your eye? Because Rossini is going to set up with a 4. Chalobah, James, Cucurella, they're all more expensive than, say, a Sanchez, who will probably be the wildcard pick.
Yeah, Cucurella was a consideration to bring in for game week 22 till he took himself out of contention to be in that team, which possibly makes me want to hold off. And again, when I stop and think about it, Cucurella is, compared to centre-backs, just probably isn't going to get that consistency of points. You're looking to kind of spike that attack and return, and he's shown the attacking threat, but he's not really delivered on it much this season. So there's definitely question marks there. Reece James I was interested in when I finally accepted that I think this was the first year in 6 or 7 where he actually was fit during the festive period, which is a massive accomplishment for him. And I think it's because of the way he was being utilised more in midfield and not as much pressure on him. And if he's playing there, I'd be more interested in him than I would with him playing in defence.
Yeah.
So if I was looking at their defence, like you said, you're then looking at the centre-backs, and it just feels, for me personally, I'd be guessing as to which centre-back they're going to be using if I went now, whereas by 24, it probably is that better position.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're missing out on the Brentford fixture. Igor Thiago's scoring for fun at the moment. So
yeah, he's scoring
see a
against
clean
Chelsea.
sheet.
Yeah, and probably not at Stamford Bridge the way Thiago's playing. And you're right, thinking of waiting 2 weeks means you get a read on the centre-back partnership, because Chelsea got a lot of centre, like when fit. Like, I mean, it was Tosin and Chalobah against Fulham for the first selection Rosenior made. He didn't manage the team that day, he wasn't on the touchline, but he picked the team, I think. And he went with Chalobah and Tosin, but obviously Badiashile exists, Fofana when fit. We'll know by then if Reece James is playing centre mid. I expect he will continue playing centre mid. We'll know if Enzo's a number 10, and I think Enzo will become a number 10, and it will be a pivot 2 of Caicedo and James, Santos at times. And we'll know if Palmer's playing on the right, and we'll also know if Liam Delap's first choice 9. My take on Chelsea is going to be that Liam Delap is going to be the number 9, because Rosenior likes his 9 running in behind. João Pedro comes short. I saw this from Chewy FPL on Twitter. But Liam Delap and Rosenior worked together before, and Liam Delap wants to play on the last defender. And we saw he played 90 versus Fulham. He never plays 90. I don't know if he ever played 90 in the Premier League under Maresca. Well, first game of Rosenior, scored a goal, played 90. So again, like any Chelsea attackers, Enzo, Palmer, Delap of interest?
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on Palmer. We know what he's capable of, but those kind of injuries, any amount of time coming back to it, you have to accept there's going to be some drop off. Probably going to be an excellent asset again when next season comes around, but no rush to go in there. Like you said, Enzo playing in that 10 and just the amount he's involved in the attacking aspects of the game, and at his price just seems like an easy move for me from like a Shirky, for example, or Cunha if I'm not going Bruno straight away. Delap, I hadn't considered, and part of it is still the default trying to not have too many forwards in the team. But at his price, what price is he as well? Like
6.1, I think. I think he's 6.1. But again, it comes down to structure, because so many will have Haaland plus Thiago or Haaland plus Ekitike and then a 4.5. So I don't see many upgrading their 4.5 to the lap. Are you willing to downgrade your Ekitike or Thiago to him? Well, maybe people will be in a couple of weeks.
I think I probably would. Like, if I were to make the move from Ekitike and I'm looking at 24, 25, then I'm probably leaning to Delap over Thiago, and then being willing to switch back over to Thiago when he's got some decent fixtures. Yes, Thiago is able to score in bad fixtures as well. And, you know, he's been scoring recently without them winning penalties with Dango Alsat AFCON. So when he comes back, that probably increases again as well. But there's also a world where questions need to start coming in around whether or not we want Haaland in our team at certain points. You know, for some people that are wildcarding, do you go without him for a 3-4 game week stretch and enable some of these cheap ones? Because even at that cheap range of Krupi Jr. and Mane and DCL, they're outscoring Haaland right now.
Oh, I like this chat. You're always open to a differential, and that has been part of your success, not just one differential player, but a differential player way of playing. So being open to no Haaland isn't a conversation many will be having on Twitter or on YouTube. It's a conversation you've already had and we're having now, which is awesome. I'm glad you've mentioned that. And again, it's not something I've considered, but the way you manage and the way you've got to this rank is by being unique, I guess, and by not worrying too much about FOMO and by not worrying about conforming to others and just going, this is how I want to play FPL and how I'm going to get enjoyment from the game. And if that means going a bit different and taking a 1 week punt on Madueke, as you did a few weeks ago, which was a dreadful decision, but it was one of dozens of decisions you've made, which have been massively out there. And many would think are bad, that actually many came good. That was one that didn't hit, but many have done for you. Haaland's fixtures aren't the best. I mean, he has Wolves at home in 23, but let's say you're on wildcard 24. Tottenham and Liverpool away, Newcastle and Fulham. It's a tough run of 4. There's going to be Champions League up again. There is an argument to say you can fit everyone else in. Does Salah become a thing again? Maybe. Maybe Salah's a thing for the second half of the season. So yeah, that's something you're relative. Have you looked at captaincy though? How does the game look for captaincy if you don't own Haaland?
I haven't, and I'll be honest, it was only, I think, over the last couple of days I started thinking about it when I initially saw a few drafts over on X of people that had wildcard, and I think even KSI went without Haaland.
He
And people
did,
were like,
yeah.
this is a silly draft. And I looked at it and went, I'm not sure it is, because there is that acceptance that there's going to be a game week where he gets 13 or 16 points.
Yeah.
And that's fine if he doesn't do it 3 game weeks in a row type of aspect.
Yeah.
And looking ahead to the fixtures beyond, I think it's like by 28 when they're playing Leeds, Forest, West Ham. Yeah, fine. You want him back in your team at that point at the latest. But there is those kind of windows. In terms of who you'd captain instead, like, it does make it difficult because midfielders don't seem to be consistently returning either. And you don't really want to captain a defender because the second a clean sheet goes, the ceiling goes for them too. So it becomes challenging. I don't know is the answer.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that people that have gone against him captaincy for the last 4 weeks have been absolutely fine.
Yeah, and we might be going against him in game week 22. Let's talk about game week 22 captaincy in a minute. Other option to Haaland moving forward in terms of captaincy, who rotates quite well with him. And we can see here, like, obviously he can hit the big scores, but he can go 3 games on the 2s. And when he gets the 2s, if you're smart and can back against him well, then your quid's in. Bruno Fernandes has quite good fixtures that complement, that bounce the other way from Haaland. And Bruno Fernandes, in the 1 game we've seen with no Amorim, played here as the number 10. Bruno Fernandes played higher up the pitch than we have seen under Amorim over a 90-minute section. He's not going to get DEFCON in this role. He only got 3. I don't think he's had 3 all season. So, but he is going to get more goals and assists. Bruno Fernandes could be a fun pick.
He could, and he was a top point scoring midfielder before he got injured.
True.
And that's playing in a worse position on the pitch. Yes, a lot of those were going to be made up by that DEFCON, but if he gets 3 or 4 more attack and returns off the back of his further forward position, then it's going to more than pay off. And also that gets him more of the bonus. We already know his bonus magnet, but that just secures it more if he's further up.
Yeah, 2-2 draw, 1 assist. He still got bonus. You know, he still finds ways with 1 return from the 4 goals, which wasn't even a goal. So your midfield, you mentioned Cherky, maybe to Enzo could be an option. We've said we haven't really spoken about the others. Now, again, fairly differential. Like, your midfield's proper differential. I mean, Cunha was a bit of a bandwagon, but again, he could go to Bruno. Wirtz, Rodgers, Gordon, those 3. How do you feel about them and where are you at?
Rodgers is going to be sticking around for a while.
Like that.
I think all of the others are on the chopping block at certain parts in the next run.
Yeah, I mean, Wirtz and Burnley could be amazing, but then you look beyond that and you can sell Liverpool.
Yeah, that's it. I'd probably still keep him for Bournemouth. There's arguments to keep him for Newcastle with what we've been saying about how leaky they've been. And then it becomes tricky because you're going, City's a bad game, but you've got Sunderland after it. Yeah. So he's probably the one that I'm in least of a rush to get rid of, because I have been impressed with what he's done over the last few weeks, just in terms of his presence. Yes, he's still having an off game, but he feels more comfortable in the league. It feels as if he knows his teammates better and they know him, and starting to do a few of the things that we've seen him do in the Champions League for those of us that, like myself, that only really saw him there or sort of playing for Germany. We know he's a good footballer and we know Liverpool are a good team. So if he starts knowing what to do with them, and I think against Arsenal, I was at the game, so it's always trickier at times because you focus on different things. But it looked to me like he was playing as a striker for a lot of the game.
They set up Gakpo on the left and Wirtz as a false 9 or number 9, and Szoboszlai quite close to him. But yeah, it was Wirtz as the focal point in a way. He trusted him with that position. He's moving him around. We've seen him play several roles now. How did he look?
Times as well where, that is a penalty for Liverpool if it's given on the field. So there's those kind of things where we know he is now taking players on. He's driving into the box. So I'm fine having him. And I'm also someone of the opinion that in most games, like this Arsenal-Liverpool game was the first 0-0 draw against the two of them for 10 years. So it's kind of rare. But we knew that off of the first game that Liverpool set up a little bit more defensively for that game. Arsenal did too. I typically think when strong teams face each other, they do tend to go for it a little bit more. So I'm not against playing strikers or attackers in their harder fixtures because they tend to have okay records against those teams.
Yeah, okay, nice. Mate, let's talk forwards and then captaincy for game week 22. XTK, I guess we just wait and see. Like, we just need to know his status ahead of the Burnley game. If he's fit, we're all very excited to own him. Have you looked at other forwards moving forward as the ones you might want to target? Anyone in particular? Obviously, you don't own Thiago, which is a big reason why you had the red arrow. I went XTK over for Thiago, sold Thiago a few weeks ago. But the fixtures don't look amazing moving forward. Are you looking at Thiago or anyone else?
Yes and no. Like, part of me is considering just making them really cheap positions and focusing on having 5 good defenders, 5 good midfielders, because I think there are good opportunities there. We've already mentioned the likes of Krupi Jr., who is starting alongside Evan Nilsson, and with Semenyo going and Kluivert's injury, there's probably more minutes. And that's the guy who just loves a shot from range and has a good ball striking ability.
So good. So good. And then Mane's minutes at Wolves are secure as well. Like, we got 2 4.5 brilliant enablers. And they're going to be on your bench a lot, but they exist. And maybe we shouldn't be ignoring them. Yeah. Anyone
there is some bias in me that if we get news that Arsenal are having their double game week when they do.
Yeah.
And he's back fit. And you and I know, don't listen to Kieran on Arsenal, essentially. And it's the one thing I'll say to everyone. I'm okay at other things, but with Arsenal, I tend to just get a vision into my head and go, oh, if that happened, that would be good. But a Jesus or a Kai Havertz for a few fixtures is something that I'm open to.
Yeah, okay. Bit of fun there. And look, Arsenal number 9s should be getting chances, and they do. And they've got a very well-functioning attack with them. Kieran, before we move on, I want to talk about another forward, but then captaincy. Shout out to your channel, by the way. So obviously, if you're not already following, do check out at FPL Discomfort on X. So that is Kieran's Twitter handle. You're pretty active. So it's FPL_discomfort. I'll put it in the handle. But also, Kieran, you are on YouTube. Tell us about that. Your FPL YouTube channel.
Yeah, so friend of mine, Shane, we have a channel called FPL Double Pivot, which is FPL_double pivot, where, I'll be honest, I think we just talk through our teams and what we think fixtures are going to be like in the upcoming ones. Shane does a part where he does a fixture decoder, where he'll look at the colour graphs and change what he thinks it should be weighted towards, because we tend to steer towards green means good without questioning it at times. And that's what we like to have a chat through. I'm someone who will look into some of the areas where teams struggle, look at the set pieces, try and exploit it, look at other people's information that's out there to see which players do I fancy in some of these fixtures. And we try and blend that with the eye test aspect more than anything else. I think there's data thrown in there, but neither of us are anywhere near the levels of people who actually put the content out around data. We more just go, like this bit of data, let's talk about it. But more so just having, good chat and seeing what we're going to do with our teams each week.
My kind of guys, do check out Double Pivot, guys. Again, link in the description. And be sure to hit the like button of this video if you've enjoyed it. And do subscribe to the channel right now if you're not subscribed. That'd be amazing. Also, my channel membership offering is on the QR code if you want members-only content over the next couple of days. Ollie Watkins, Kieran, where are you at with this one? Because I think Watkins could be a really fun, I'm going to say differential, he's 13% owned. But you've got Rodgers, you've got Villa attack covered. I just want to highlight Villa's fixtures. They are, I think, way better than tickers would put out there. Reason being, 4 of the next 6 are at Villa Park. And we know Villa at home are so strong. They beat Arsenal at Villa Park recently, right? Everton at Villa Park, Brentford at Villa Park, Brighton at Villa Park, Leeds at Villa Park. I like those fixtures very much.
I like them. And I've considered bringing him in for Ekitike next week, for example.
Yeah, if we knew Ekitike was out and you were forced into a corner, get rid of him. Watkins is a fun replacement.
He is. The things that hold me back is more, and it shouldn't, is going, well, I'd then have double Villa playing double Everton defence, which isn't ideal, but it's also not the end of the world if you're already thinking that Villa are going to score and Tarkowski's there for DEFCON and Pickford might be able to get a few saves. The other part, though, that's probably more holding me back is European football and the realistic chance in that being... They've got this balance right now where they're in a position in the league where they're comfortably in those Champions League spots. qualifying for next season.
Yeah.
But you could also argue that they've got a very strong chance of winning the European trophy. And we know the quality of Emery in the Europa League in particular. I think he's the most successful manager that's managed within it. We know that he got Arsenal to the final as an Arsenal fan, where your team, Chelsea, humbled us a little bit. Yeah. And that's where the concern was, where he put all of his eggs in the basket in that situation and focused purely on Europe.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do that with Villa because, like I said, they're in a different position where they're sitting third in the league. But it's just that blend of how's he going to use someone like Watkins in Europe and how's he going to use him in the league? And am I then going to miss out on some of those nicer fixtures, perhaps?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And we need to note it's not going to be lots of 90s. Captaincy in 22. Are you open to going against Haaland if Ekatike's fit? Are they the main two?
Outside of Haaland, I don't like captaining strikers. I think midfielders just have that higher aspect or routes to points and different ways of getting there and higher reward for it. I think outside of your Thiago, who people struggle to captain, you don't really see strikers get those double-digit hauls unless they're Haaland. So Wirtz could be in consideration with the things we've been saying about him, but then there is more competition for his position with players coming back and being fit. The other part of me thinks surely Haaland can't go 4 weeks with low scores behind him. He scored last game week, didn't he? But
he got 6. Yeah, he didn't. I think he lost his bonus in the end, but he does love it. I feel like he's quite good against United. I think he does well in the derby.
That's it. This just feels like the type of game he is up for. And again, I just have the memory of when he played against Arsenal and it was meant to be a hard game. And at one point he just took his hairband off and his hair was flowing. He was brushing past everyone. And, when Haaland's in that moment against the top team, it's almost as if he thrives and steps up to those occasions more than he does when he's playing at Burnley, because your Burnley sit back and deep, and a Man United at home under a new manager can't be sitting back in this game.
It's a very good point. That could be a bit of an end-to-end, a bit like the Brighton game was. And Haaland had a lot of chances, and it was sort of an end-to-end basketball match. And that's what we want for Man City. Often we want those open games, and usually that means high reward for Haaland. Yeah, okay. So at the moment on the bus team, it is there. Love that. Mate, I'm not going to ask you your specific transfers because it's too early to say. And until we've get to the press conferences and we see who's around and who's back from AFCON and who's fit, it's too hard to say. But seeing the sorts of players you're looking to bring in has been a brilliant indicator. And obviously we'll follow you on X to know what moves you end up making. Mate, thank you so much for joining me. And guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with another video very, very soon. We'll see you in the next.